Hello students, today's agenda is to turn in homework. You will be checking your grade to make sure that it's accurate, and we'll learn about theoretical probability. Today you will be able to work on 5.1a. Today students will be able to find sample spaces and theoretical probabilities. But before we do that, we need to review some vocabulary. Probability experiment is a procedure that can be repeated. For example, when you throw a coin several times, with a list of possible outcomes. And these outcomes are called sample spaces. And we can use these probability experiments with dice. I have here one that is six-sided. So it has a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6. It can be done with coins. For coins, there are two. You have this space, which is heads, and then you have tails. We might also use a deck of cards, marbles, clothes combinations. So there is different ways that you can find probability with different items. Finding the sample space. You roll an 8-sided die and flip 2 coins. How many possible outcomes are in the sample space? List the possible outcomes. The sample space is formed by the list of those possible outcomes, and that's going to make more sense once we start working with it. So believe it or not, there is not only 6-sided dice, we also have other numbers. So this one has, the biggest number is 12, so it has 12 sides. This one right here, it has 8 sides. We have one that has 20 sides. And then we have this dice that has only 4 sides, but then it has different numbers in each side. And there are some that are even with bigger numbers. Okay, so in here, it says that we have an 8-sided die, which is this one. And we flip 2 coins. So we have a coin in here and another one, okay? Now, when it says to create the list, you can create a tree or the die. What are the possibilities that you can get? If I throw it at random, I might get a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 6, 7, or 8, okay? Because those are the numbers that are in these dice. So it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are the possible outcomes just for that one die. So let's say that you get a 1. The next one, you're going to flip a coin. Okay, first coin. So we already said about the die. The first coin, you might get heads or tails. And that will happen for all of this. Whether you get a 1, for the first coin, you might get heads or tails. If you get a 2, you might get, for the, once you flip the coin, a heads, tails. If you get a 3 for the die, you might still get heads or tails, because we don't know which one you might get. And so on, just the same for each one of them. Okay, heads or tails. And then you throw the second coin. You flip it. Again, we don't know which one we got before. If it was a 1 heads for the first one, or 1 head, 1 tails, or 2. We don't know which ones we got for the first. Still, you would get for the second coin, there are only 2 possibilities, either heads or tails. And the same if you got this one, 1 and a tails, then you still have the possibility of getting a heads or a tails. And that's, again, is going to be the same case for each one. Heads, tails, head, tails, head, tails, head, tails, okay, and you're going to do the same thing for all of them. Almost there. What this means is that one possible combination is one heads, heads. Another one is one heads, tails. Another one is one tails, heads. One tails, tails. So that's for the one. And we are going to do the same thing for the two, but these are the possible outcomes. Now, if we had to list this is what it would look like. So one head, head, that's one possibility. One possible outcome. One head, tails. One head, tails. One tails, head. One tails, head. And one tails, tails. You have to be very careful to be organized. Some people who are very visual, they prefer to say, okay, one heads, heads, and then they go one heads, tails. Okay, they might be coloring if they need to do that. Then we already finished with this one. Now the next one is one tails, heads. Okay, it's this one. And then one tails, tails. Okay, so for the one, we are done. And if you notice, two heads, heads is the same as this one. Two heads, heads. We write it down, two heads, heads. Then two heads, but now with tails. Two heads, tails. Then we go two tails, heads. And then two tails, tails. Two tails, tails. I want you to notice how these heads, head, heads, heads, head, tails, tail, head, tail, head, tail, tails, tails, tails. So you get the same, the only thing that changes is the number. And guess what's going to happen with 3? The same repetition. With 4, with 5, with all of them. So in here, what you can do is just put the 3 and bring down the same letters for heads, heads, 3 head, tails, 3 tails, head, 3 tails, tails. 4 with the same letters, because we're going to get the same combinations for each number on these dice, okay? 4 head, tails, 4 tails, head, 4 tails, tails. Same for the 5. And the 6. 6 head, tails, 6 tails, head, 6 tails, tails. Then the next one is 7. The same is going to be for, see, I'm copying the number as well. 7 heads, tails, 7 tails, head, 7 tails, tails. And the last one is 8 heads, heads, 8 head, tails, 8 tails, heads, and 8 tails, tails. So we can count them 1, 2, 3, 4, and we know that each number gets the same number of 4, so we just multiply the 4 times the number of numbers, which is 8. So 4 times 8 is a total of 32. There are 32 outcomes in this sample space. Another way to find it, if you don't need to list them, for this homework you do need to list them, but later on we're going to use it in probability and finding specific probabilities of something happening. You can also just say, okay, how many possible outcomes for the die is 8. How many possible outcomes each time you flip it? Only heads or tails, so it's going to be 2. The heads and the tails. And how many possibilities? Not looking at the previous, right? If I throw a second coin, well, for that second coin, it's only heads or tails, which is also 2 possible outcomes for just that coin. Once you multiply, 8 times 2 is 16, and 16 times 2 is 32, which is these 32 possible outcomes in the sample space. Again, for this assignment, you do need to list all the outcomes in the sample space, but in the future, just you can just do this shortcut. Please support our channel by giving us a thumbs up, subscribing around here. This is the link to the next lesson, and here you can find the entire unit. Now you're able to do 5.18 and have fun.